Hello, this is Debbie, and this is Light Up Your Worth. I am excited for this week's guest, Jessica Smith Dolce Santos. She is known as a badass love coach for her unique style of challenging her clients from a place of unconditional love to rise up in their lives and to become empowered to create their next chapter designed around what matters most to them. As a struggling mom with burnout from a 17-year nursing career, she was looking for a way to prioritize being a mom to her children while continuing to bless her family with financial stability. Now she's a coach, high-level business mentor, public speaker, full-time mama of 2 teenagers and 3 fur babies, and she's the author of the book, Shit They Don't Tell You in Nursing School. Her heart is to serve women to create time flexibility and financial options so they never feel they have to choose between time with their babies and jobs. She describes her love language as reminding others of their own enoughness and believes life is meant to be lived full out, not to be fit into the time left over when work is done.
Just
Welcome.
drop the mic. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Since we're both so focused on females rising into their worth and how that shifts their lives in so many ways. To make that shift, sometimes we can get stuck in that comfortableness. And I really wanted to explore that with you because you left a very acceptable, helpful career of a nurse, 17 years, and you made this huge impact. And so you have firsthand have walked through so many life changes and you know a thing or two about being in the comfort zone. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. As I was exploring for myself, what does it look like to create a life that I love? And looking at there were definitely comfort within that reality. Things that kept me comfortable, finances, stability of a routine kept me comfortable. Knowing that I was going to have a paycheck coming in the door kept me comfortable. And as I was exploring that and wondering, okay, there's things that I'm comfortable with, but also deep seated discomfort. I feel like, especially as women, we're comfortable, provided for, our kids are safe, yet there's this call in our soul we can't shake off, keeps us awake in the middle of the night. It's that
Mm.
repeating thought of that there's more. I call it the soul whisper. In the comfort zone, the comforts tend to make that voice very quiet. And for me, voice was quiet for a long. As an example, I was in a marriage I wanted out of. I had gone to counseling, and 3 years later, I had been seeing the same counselor, and I finally went to a session and I said, "I'm back today because we are getting divorced and I need some support." She flipped back to our first appointment. She said, "When you came to me 3 years ago, you said, 'I think I want to divorce my husband.'" There was a 3-year comfort zone where I had to face what was comfortable versus what my soul was calling me to do. That can be very scary. That 3 years of exploring, am I willing to leave this comfort zone?
Mm.
It's a good place to start the conversation. What whisper? That repeating thought, that thing in the middle of the night you're too scared to explore or share. You know what I'm talking about. You just know.
That soul whisper. That's why we have this podcast. It was a soul whisper for years. And then one day I just did it. Not planned. A lot of people start podcasts and they plan them. I just recorded and threw it out there. Among other things, that soul whisper is really powerful. When you have a soul whisper and you have a comfort zone, what does that look like in practicality? What does it feel like? Do you have certain emotions that come out of that you experience with your clients?
Absolutely. So maybe a curiosity. That curiosity is always coupled with some sort of a fear. It's like that child that's exploring, but curiosity, that like, I wonder what if. What could that look that part of you that's starting to dream a little, but then there's that other part of you that's and then all this judgment, fear comes and smacks that soul whisper right in the face. So it's like discontent, a lot of judgment for comes with that because it's like, I should be okay with it. I'm doing okay. I should be doing better. What if and that should word is
Mm.
so a clue to what your soul's trying to tell you. If you're shooting on yourself, that's a way to like call out the comfort zone, to call out the lies, because the comforts are, as humans, we are designed to move away from pain. We are less likely to move towards pleasure, especially if the comfort zone is creating enough pleasure that it becomes very scary. This dream will come up, this excitement, and then immediately, like I said, judgment slap down, right? Like, but you
Yes.
shouldn't want that.
Is the judgment from our own beliefs? Is it society beliefs? Is it our communities? Or is it all of them?
We always start with the mother, father, teacher, preacher. At one point, we live to please authority figures. As we grow, we look more to societal norms. So, mother, father, teacher, preacher, society. You can throw some marketing in there. Think there's something missing when there's nothing missing. Like, I have a great question. No rules, no patience. What does your soul really want? What does that look like for you? If you can create that space within yourself, allows you to set down those expectations and just really get into exploring, what is that whisper telling me? If I could, how would I? Just theoretically, not like I'm going to go do it right now, but if I could,
Mm.
how would I? And that starts fanning the flame of that little spark inside and setting down that checklist. And really, at the end of the day, it's really a subordination to what you think you should be doing. And again, that language is so important because when you catch yourself saying should, could, would, have to, need to, those are all signs that you're operating off of a checklist that's not yours. Whereas when you can fill in the blank of I would love to, I would be so happy, got to. Those are signs that those are your true soul whisper.
And can't you just feel the different energy as you were saying the should, woulds, could, need? You could just feel the whole shift in you and versus I would love to. It just that energetic frequency that comes out of those words themselves are super powerful as you were sharing that.
Absolutely. And that's why language is so important. If you just tune into the words that you're using, it'll give you such a big clue as to whether you're
Mhm.
sitting in have to, need to, should, or if you're allowing yourself to truly dream.
Truly dream. As you go through the comfort zone too, we come against this judgment of self that we have to first walk through. When you do decide to move forward, there's going to be all this different judgments of those with the best intentions usually
Yeah.
that are that are closest to us. And how have you found that to be successful for yourself and your clients of walking through then the next layer once we get through our own self-judgment as we walk into putting it out there?
Oh, goodness. That's the part that stops most of us. About it with a coach who believes in you. And it's completely another thing to come out of the closet with your heart, with your soul whisper, and to take action on that dream. Because it is true, people have with change. For it often challenges that old identity, like the thing that people know you for. When your soul whispers and you take a step into that, it challenges the identity of how people know you and how they relate to you. So, what they're really saying to you when they feel like they're not being supportive is something has changed, and I don't know how to react to you with this new change. So, just recognize that it's touching their stuff, as I like to say.
Yeah.
Right? It's not. I recently heard on a podcast episode the Q tip method: quit taking it personally. And so if we look through that lens of like their challenges might be directed at me because my up leveling is touching their stuff, but it's not about me. I think when we can separate those two things, it makes it so much easier to step into that conversation with compassion. What I'm hearing you say is my new adventure is making you feel uncomfortable. What are you most afraid of? Because at the end of the day, the people that really love you are probably afraid that they're going to lose you.
Mhm.
And so they don't know how to react to that. But on the other side, it can feel very defeating. It can feel very hard. It can feel like a lot of challenge, especially from the people that love you the most. The Q-tip method, I think, was brilliant. It's not mine, but I just thought, what if I chose to not take this personally and just
Mhm.
chose to sit in this conversation for understanding and understand what are they afraid of? What are they afraid of right now? Right? Because it can be very scary. The other thing about the comfort zone trap, if you will, is that we do go through our whole lives and we create this foundation of things that we understand to be safe. You can even look at this from the perspective of an abusive relationship, right? It's known. And there's something about the known, whether it's abusive or it's not the best of behavior or it's not the best circumstance, there's something about being known that keeps us comfortable. Whereas when our soul starts whispering, it requires us to step outside of the known. And oftentimes it requires us to step into something that we've never experienced. And our imaginations are very powerful. They like to start with all the, but what if you fail? But what if it's awful? But what if all the bad things happen? Because it wants to keep you, it's just in
Mhm.
safety. So if you can greet that with, but my dear, what if you fly? What if it goes wonderful to just help balance that perception? I think it's so useful.
It is. And what I think is so beautiful in that as you step out and you have those conversations, how do you walk through on these journeys of change? You have the ebbs and flows when you're in flow and maybe you pop out of it for a moment and you're learning a different type of lesson. You're on this journey of following your soul's whispers, and the self-judgment might kick in, or maybe something that you thought would work doesn't work out. So you get minor setbacks really on that journey. How do you find the connections, or how did you find connections to help you through keeping you on your soul whisper?
Oh, that's a really powerful question. One of the simplest strategies that I personally leverage and that I teach my clients is to shift the question or to shift the statement, this is happening to me, to the question, if I believed that this was for me, how is it? Because the truth is, we all have experiences in life and we get to decide what kind of frame we put around them. And we get to decide the niche they. So I think a couple of things set us up. Like you said, it's a journey. And I think one of the things that we're set up culturally and societally to do is to focus too much on the outcome and not have enough gratitude for the journey because it really truly is not about the destination. It's about the person that you become in the pursuit. Another thing that I've learned about humans is that, I mean, how many goals have you set that you've reached and you get to that final point? You're like, well, that was anticlimactic.
Oh, yes.
Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, in fact, when you said that, I remember when I lived in the Bay Area, my second home that I bought, I went from a townhouse into a house. And it's an expensive area. I spent $500,000 on a house 20 years ago. I'm having this wonderful
A
eh,
housewarming party.
housewarming party. I remember being there going, "This was it. This is what I feel. You just spent
That's
half a million
exactly what
dollars on a house. You should be a little bit more excited."
yes, yes. And to that point, it's in the pursuit because how did you feel when you were walking through that journey of finding the house and signing the paperwork and just like really connecting with the journey,
Mhm.
right? And this is the secret sauce is humans thrive when they are in pursuit. Humans do not thrive because they've succeeded. They thrive because they're in pursuit. So as you're following those soul whispers, I would say number one, just completely unhook from the package that you think it should take and be open to the form that it's going to take as you take that next step. Because sometimes as you're walking forward, you're like, well, this doesn't look like anything I had in my mind. I'm just quitting right now, rather than being like, wow, this is incredible. Like I could not have dreamed this up on my own. Right. And then
Yes.
having grace, have grace for that process. Just allow it to unfold. I would even challenge the setback. Is it really a setback, or did you just have an unrealistic, too much attachment, much time for the destination? Because if you release yourself from those things and you ask, is this really a setback, or how is it serving me in pursuit? And the journey just becomes fun.
Yes. Yes. I recently read the book Everything is Figure Outable. What was so interesting about the book, it's a great book, but what really I remember about it was that for her to have some level of success where she was in her own business, it was 7 years in the making. And she had 2 to 3 jobs doing this, because I know there's a lot of women entrepreneurs who listen to the Light Up Your Worth podcast. And a lot of them are building businesses. And I think we get a lot of marketing to us about that you can be almost like an overnight success. Like within a year, you can quit your job, make 6 figures, work part time, and they set us up for the expectations. And not that that doesn't happen, just, maybe half a percentage of the people. But in reality, I think it is about what you're talking about is about the journey of who you are becoming in that process with the lessons and the experiences and really getting really clear on what it's going to look like and then letting go of
Yeah.
what
And
those
letting you go, but
expectations. Mhm.
yeah. And the question is, how do you let go but stay in pursuit?
Ooh,
Right?
yes. Yes, I want to hear your opinion on that. How do you let go and stay in pursuit? Because that's really when we talk about bringing in the consciousness of wealth or money or abundance, it's about getting really clear and letting go of our attachment and still continue the pursuit.
This was something I really struggled with at first because I did get attached to unrealistic expectations. I'm going to make 6 figures. I'm going to work part time. I'm going to love what I'm doing. It's going to be easy. We all get sucked into the easy button. It's human nature to want to push the easy button. It took me some time to reconcile. Okay, well, if I have this goal, and if a emotional attachment to the way it's going to turn out that's motivating me, I'm being asked to let go of the attachment. What's going to continue motivating me? I don't
Mhm.
understand how to reconcile those two things. The more I sort of dug into that for myself, I reflected back on all of the times that number one, I had reached a goal and it was like, that's it, like totally anticlimactic. Or I had been enjoying the journey so much that what actually manifested was way better than anything I could have imagined. And realizing that it was just like being curious and being creative and asking, what's the next best step? And the truth is, we're not looking for an outcome, we're looking for a feeling. Like you said, is this it? I just dropped $500,000 on a house. I should feel differently. How did you expect to feel when you were in the pursuit?
Think I really thought that I would feel like I've made it. I've made all of the from growing up in a working class neighborhood, very diverse in Northern California, that here I was in my hometown where it was 25% of the people at that time, this is 2001, could buy a home. 25%. And a single female buying a home at that time was probably really low. And so I thought, "Oh, I'm there. I've arrived." Like,
Mm.
that was the final destination, I think, like, "Okay, now it's easy street." Oh, no.
I have $500,000 on how, like, I have to pay
Yeah.
a mortgage and bills and stuff.
So, I think in reflecting back, that was a really good question, was that looking back, I really just expected I don't know, it's almost like you expect the heavens to open up and the harps to play. You yeah, I felt I felt disillusioned with what I had achieved and just was never really completely satisfied with that. Because now it was like, "Okay, now what would be my next goal? Is this it?"
Mhm.
Like, final destination. I know now
Yeah.
because I've had 4 other houses since then, but never to get that attached to a house, for one thing, or anything material, because things come and go. Couple decades later, I know this, but letting go of that attachment, it really was the journey to get there, and that was one of the first really big goals that I had achieved in my 30s.
Well, there were a couple that you shared that I really resonated with. The first was feeling disillusioned. And oftentimes we set a goal and we have a vision based on a fantasy, based on something that somebody sold us. Who sold you the idea that you needed to have a $500,000 home, right? And at what point did you, and for what reasons? I mean, that's a whole conversation that we could really drill into, but that we're pursuing a fantasy basically. And that's why it feels so empty when we get there. And then how you also mentioned that when I got there, I was like, the heavens were going to open up and it was like, it'd be easy, right? I know that you are not alone in that because I'm guilty of too, knowing that I put in all this hard work and I reached the goal and it's going to be easy. That is one of the biggest lies that shuts off our heart whisper. What if we just that we are going to have to keep putting in the work? Would it make a difference if you just said every day, I'm choosing to wake up and put in the work today? There's never going to be a day where I'm just skating and it's going to be easy, but it's going to be worthy and it's going to be fun and it's going to be joyful.
Mm.
What if that was the mindset in which we stepped into the pursuit of our dreams every single day? What if you sought those feelings of where do I feel free? Where do I feel like things are easy right now in my life? Maybe not specifically attached to the pursuit of my dream, but right now, my relationship with my son and my husband is so flexible and easy and joyful and flowing. Right now, there's parts of my business that like make me want to smack myself upside the forehead because they feel hard. I'm in a growing season. I am being molded for that next level right now. It
Mhm.
feels hard, but I can find the ease and the joy and the flow in other areas of my life. So releasing the expectation that the business has to be the thing that provides those feelings for me is very unrealistic.
Yes, beautifully said, Jessica. Have you found that on those dreams that you've set something aside and you've done really well on releasing the attachments? You have an idea because you have clarity on where you want to go. And then you get there and you're like, wow, this is way beyond anything I could have ever imagined. The universe has brought so much blessings way beyond anything you had even been exposed to.
That's real. That's absolutely real. I think it's like the secret sauce of that is tapping into those feelings that you're looking for,
Mm.
that you're expecting on the out, and training yourself to embrace those feelings in your everyday life,
Mhm.
looking for them in different forms. I think that is the probably reflecting back on this conversation, that's probably the one like magic trick, if you will, that supported me in releasing the outcome is recognizing that the outcome isn't going to give me the feeling. It might, but where can I find that feeling right here, right now? and being able to feed that feeling rather than withholding myself from that feeling. I think another sort of mistake that we make is we're like, when I get there, then I can feel that thing. If I get there, then I will allow myself to do that thing. We literally withhold the joy, the freedom, the flexibility, the easy button, right? The feelings of flow from ourselves because we decide we don't deserve it until. And I think it's a big mistake because it totally blocks your ability to have those joy in those steps when you recognize, what if I could create more joy by taking the next step?
That is just full of wisdom, that whole blockage. It just reminds me of when you're in those moments of life where everything is beautiful. You don't want to enjoy it too much because you're waiting for that old expression, the other shoe to drop. And learning to navigate through that has actually been one of my challenges, navigating through when it's just so beautiful. That day was just so amazing, that week, and then it's a month, and then it's a year. And then you look back later and you're like, wow, I actually could have been even more joyful, more happy because you didn't you knew, I think now I know at this decade of my life that everything does ebb and flow for because everything is constantly shifting. And to really be present in those moments and experience all of the joy because without the rain, you can't have the sun. And the rainbow is there to really highlight that. And have you found yourself in those moments? And if you have, how did you walk yourself through them?
I love you brought up this perspective because if you think about the way life operates in the yin and yang. It operates in balances and counterbalances. When you're in those moments on either side of feeling so heavy and things are so hot, I can't see the light because it's so dark. Or the other side where I am totally elated and there's so much sun. I need my sunglasses. But what's amazing about that is that in both of those scenarios, in the dark, there is still light if you're brave enough to ask, where is the light? And on the super bright days, there is still dark. So when you're feeling those extremes, just know that it's simply an perspective. Nothing in your life is out of balance. Your perspective is. And so for me, it's just about walking in that balance and knowing that, yes, there is an ebb, there is a flow. There are times I feel more down and like I'm hard, and there are times where I feel like I'm on top of the world and flying, but keeping myself balanced on both ends by saying, okay, most of these areas are working out and it feels really great right now. But if I'm being honest, there's a shit show in the closet. It's not all perfect,
Mm.
right? Or when life feels hard and heavy, to be like, yeah, it feels hard right now, but there's these beautiful lights around me. So for me, it's not about leaning into the polarity. It's about looking at both sides of what I'm going through to keep my perception on track. When I can do that, I don't get too elated and I don't get too depressed, and I can stay in that zone more often.
Yes. If you find yourself well, you're right there to keep yourself in that zone, what tools do you use in your life to help you be able to stay balanced?
Great question. I let feelings be my guide.
Mhm.
So there was a season in my life where I had an extra room. I had a 4-bedroom house and I was only using 3 of them. So I rented out the extra room to traveling nurses. And there was one nurse, her name was Sandra, and she would come out and she would say, I am feeling some kind of way. And you never knew what kind of way that was. But that stuck with me because it allows me to say, I'm feeling some kind of way right now. Am I ticked? Am I mad? Am I frustrated? Am I like over the moon happy? I let those emotions be my guide. Then once you identify the emotion, you can allow it to be fully expressed. I talk about this in my book in the tool called Pause the Hustle. And it's basically about checking in with your emotions without judgment and allowing them to be fully felt. Because I'm going to tell you what, the second you put a lid on those emotions and pretend like they don't exist, that's when you start creating chaos in your life. Because your emotions they're just there as a messenger. And they always say they just want to be felt. Feelings just want to be felt. And I was like, that's freaking great, but how? Like nobody ever taught me how. And so the process is literally, I'm feeling some kind of way. Where am I feeling it in my body? What is it? Is it sadness? Is it anger? Is it joy? What is it? If those cells could move, how would they move? If they could make a sound, what sound would they make? And be committed to expressing. And I'm telling you, 30 to 90 seconds, and you're done with it. And then it brings back that balance. Like, okay, I was feeling sad. The circumstance. Here's the stories I was telling myself, because it's always about the stories you're telling yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What is the opposite of that story? Good to go.
Oh,
That's
I
simple.
love that. I am feeling, don't you want to put your hand on your hip? I'm feeling some kind of way.
I'm feeling some kind of way.
Yeah. Even change how you're feeling based upon that like expression. Just kind of can even lighten it up. I am feeling some kind of way.
That's
Wow.
right.
I
That's right.
Yeah, and you know what I have found super powerful in learning programming of stuffing my emotions or not fully expressing them, as it's now scientifically proven that our bodies remember. There's lots of literature and books out there about how our bodies remember and how that can manifest into ailments if left unaddressed. And so sometimes you just can't name the emotion. I have printed out the emotion wheel that I think anybody can go out there and Google, but it's an emotion wheel because probably have heard there's four core emotions. If you think of a big wheel, if you think of a wheel and all of the sections, they all come down to the four core emotions, but how it's expressed has been super helpful for me to pull out if I really can't name what I'm feeling, and I'm learning to not suppress it, even though I'm a very emotional, intuitive person. I still find myself sometimes numbing out, going unconscious, and trying to figure out what is this? What am I feeling? That really is the question. How do you help your clients identify for yourself and your clients what they're actually feeling?
That's a valid question because I relate to having seasons in my life where somebody's like, well, what are you feeling right now? And I'm like, I don't effing know. I almost felt like a failure. I don't know what to say to you. I don't know how to put a name to it. And my daughter is 13. So she's very much in that space of like, baby girl, what's going on? I don't know. Right. So just breathe. If you don't know, don't judge yourself. It's okay if you don't have a name for it. I don't know. I'm feeling so many things at once. It's like a shit show. I don't know what to say. But where are you feeling it in your body? Are you feeling it behind your eyes? Are you feeling it in your shoulders? Is it in your throat? Is it in your chest? Is it in your belly? Can you feel it in your back? Where in your body do you feel it? Because it's like you said, our bodies know. Our body knows. If you can't put a name on it, that's cool. It's okay. Where are you feeling it in your body? Just take a breath and breathe into that space where you feel it. I feel sadness oftentimes in my throat and in my chest. My throat, it feels like I swallowed something and it's stuck in my throat when I get sad. I get choked up. And even if I don't know, or another thing we do is, okay, I'm sad, but why? We want to rationalize our
Mhm.
sad when really it doesn't matter. I'm feeling sad. I feel it in my throat. Can I just be brave enough to sit with that and breathe into that space? Just connect with it. And your
Mhm.
body's going to do the rest. I think we put way too much pressure on ourselves to be like, I have to name it and I have to know exactly where it is and I have to do this and I have to do that. What if you just breathe? What if you just sat with it and that was all that was required of you?
Mhm.
Can you do that? At a basic.
Yes, yes. And as simple as it is, we all read and hear a lot of really great things to go off and try. And sometimes we're like, go breathe, go do breathing, go meditate, go do all this stuff. In reality, it can be that simple. And when I go to breathe, it literally is less than a minute for me to
Mhm.
sit there and just
Well, when I
connect with my own self. And I have to remind myself, even after all these years, sometimes, just go breathe.
and then you're like, "But how? There's this method and that method and box breathing and 4 counts." Like, right? Like, just do what works best for you. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to do it any sort of way because we're all so different. Just lighten up. Don't be so serious about it and just experiment. What works?
Yeah. The other thing I have found, let me know if you've experienced this, is I was working through something that was very challenging. And my partner never seen the level of emotions that I was expressing. I was very, very upset. There was no logical brain. I was all emotions. It was that big burst, the big almost breakdown, crying. You can't breathe. You got not running down your nose. Your makeup's a mess. Like you're just trying to, and, you know, and I had a really like minor version of that, and he was trying to fix it. And this time I had told him, when I'm that upset, you just listen. If you listen, you're not going to fix it. If you question me, I will come out of that and then I won't get it all out. And so I had this moment that lasted probably a half an hour. That was a very, probably the longest half an hour of his life. But listening to this people of really deeply buried emotions that this event had triggered in me. After it was all over with, I end up taking a nap because I think naps solve half of the problems in the world, or
Yeah.
get
The
something
other half is solved
nutritious
by
in
it,
my body,
right?
right? Sleep something healthy to eat. Is that I woke up and he's, so how are you? I'm like, I'm okay. Thank you for honoring me and letting me have that space to feel it all, because it obviously wasn't just about this event. It had triggered some other time that I was not able to express the depthness of what was occurring. And thank you, holding that gratitude. If you call me and you're in the middle of that because maybe you're home by yourself or you live by yourself and you just need somebody to listen, sometimes that's challenging too. I know that we had started to talk about when we're going through the ebbs and flows of life, because we are always in the dark and the light. How do you support yourself through that process?
I think you brought up the point of like with your partner and trying to fix it and knowing number one, what you need. Also, number two, know what your partner or your friend or whoever is capable of providing. And another thing is, I just want you to hold space for me. There are times when I'm not capable of holding space for them. I'm going through my own thing and I'm just
Mhm.
not capable of holding space for it. Doesn't mean I don't love you and that I don't want to support you, but it just means I'm not capable of doing that for you right now. I think number one is just being committed to our process being our process.
Mm.
If you need somebody to walk through it with you, then hire a coach. Hire somebody who's capable of holding that space, but not just holding it so you can be a hot mess, but holding it with a purpose, how you be your own resource. Because the truth is, we all have everything that we need right inside of us. When I started this journey, I needed somebody to hold space for me emotionally and teach how to ride the waves. Because I had learned in very inappropriate ways, like outbursts of anger, even physical. Like when I get angry, I get violent. I just want to hit and punch and scratch. I am feral when I'm angry. And knowing how to harness, I have a punching bag at my home. Knowing how I operate and how my body needs to express And also, my husband specifically, he's very comfortable with my expression of joy, of happiness, even sadness, but he's very uncomfortable with my anger. There are times when I will just be so angry, and I'm like, this is not about you. I know this is really hard for you to understand, but can you please just give me some space? I promise I will come back to you when I'm ready. And just teaching him that he doesn't have the capacity to hold space for my anger, but also knowing what I need to do to be able to feel that all the way through to completion so that I can come back. The truth is, if we're stuck in emotions, we're literally
Mhm.
stuck in our amygdala, our lower brain. We're not capable of thinking. We're not capable of prefrontal cortex action
Mhm.
when we're in our emotions. Why it's so important to allow to be committed to feeling them all the way through to completion. Until you do that, there is no rational thought that's happening. And
Right?
also from a
Mhm.
parent perspective, knowing that about your children, like their prefrontal cortexes are not even fully developed yet, and they are very emotional.
Mm.
So just giving them space to be the where they need to be until they feel it all the way through and to the table.
Yeah. Yeah. I call that the reptile brain. I picked that up from the crucial conversations of understanding when people make that shift and they're just not able to do that. You brought up an important thing, Jessica. When we think about our own judgment, our own self judgment, the judgment of others, is that people are more comfortable with the joy, the happy, the sad, but the anger. I believe that generally speaking, as women, is that we've suppressed a lot of stuff that is anger into our bodies. And I love
Yeah.
that you are able to not only feel it, but to get it out with your body. Having a punching bag at home, that's brilliant.
Uh, my daughter's pretty ragey with her anger too, and there are times when we'll be butting heads.
Mm.
And I'm like, look, I'm feeling really frustrated right now. What I really need is to scream in your face. It would make me feel better if I could scream in your face. Can I do that? She's like, yeah, actually, I got some issues with you too. I just need to scream in your face. So we will literally square off and just scream in each other's faces. And literally 15 seconds in, we're laughing and hugging because it's so ridiculous.
Mhm.
But if we didn't do that and stuck those down, we would just be these little cyclones frustratingly swirling around each other without
Mhm.
giving each other space to just feel.
Yes. That's a really important thing that I want the listeners to understand that anger is perfectly natural for us to feel. And we've been taught a lot to be good girls, and good girls don't get mad, good girls don't get frustrated. We're here. And even though as a coach you serve, I serve as a coach, that doesn't mean that we don't feel those other emotions. And we don't want them to get stuffed down into our body and manifest into something. I want to congratulate you and acknowledge that being able to express them, to teach your daughter how to express them in a safe and approving. You guys are asking each other's permission. It's not like you start screaming at each other. Oh, I'm sure that has happened because we're all human. You guys have set up your boundaries on what healthy can look like to be able to express what needs to be expressed without being disrespectful to each other or your own self or burying everything. I think that's a really big
Mhm.
takeaway is that it's okay if we get angry.
It certainly is. The book, the resource that has supported me in growing in these emotional skills is a book called The 15 Commitments of Conscious written by Jim Bethmer. It's geared towards corporate leadership, but you can look at it through the lens of you are the CEO of the corporation of me. How do I translate those skills into operating myself? Brilliant. There's an entire commitment in there about your feelings all the way through to completion. It talks about the message each feeling brings to the table for you. Anger tells you that a boundary has been crossed. It's there to tell you something. If you can learn One, how to just let it be, how to let it flow, how to process it, but then also, what is it trying to tell me? Then you have harnessed some serious power because each of your emotions brings with it a message. Dr. Anderson, he's the creator of the physician led program that I coach. He describes emotions as the rich tapestry of human experience.
Mm.
And I'm like, man, when you go unconscious and stuff those feelings, like you are really missing out on so much richness in the human experience.
Yes. Yes. I will reference that book in the show notes too for those who might want to go pick it up. I'll add it on my book reading list. I haven't read that one, and I'm a huge reader. Thank you for that, Jessica. People are feeling connected and they want to reach out and learn more about your style of coaching and how you help people as a badass love coach. How can they reach you?
You can reach me on Facebook, which is Jessica Smith Dolce Santos. Pretty sure I'm the only one. Also, I'll give you my link tree.
Great. I love that. I'm so glad that you were able to join me today and share so much wisdom about moving through our soul's whispers and moving through our comfort zone. A lot of great wisdom there. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you for your questions. It really challenged me to think of it in ways that I did. So it's in service, like this most simple form. So I appreciate it.